Oh my goodness, y'all. What a time to be in the hills. It's October. The bows are hitting the closet and the smoke sticks are coming out. The chill is back in the air and the colors on the mountain. It's incredible. And for some of you out there, the snow is already hitting the ground. But guess what, y'all? Bugles are still ringing through the hills. It's an incredible time to be hunting elk out west. On today's show, Joe and I want to help those early to mid-October rifle hunters with all sorts of questions. Can I still call elk? What are the best ways to get on a bull now? What if I'm hunting cow elk? Do I still need to worry about the thermals? What effect will snowfall have on finding elk? Those topics, along with some tips from our ElkBros shoutouts, and along with some perfect questions for this time of year from our ElkBros Mailbox. So, my friends, pull up a chair and adjust your volumes just right. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gilliam. You want to hunt elk, and they live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
Hello again, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy our show. And for those blue collar hunters out there following our show, grinding it out every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host for your show from Spring, Texas, and joining me from Cimarron, New Mexico, your elk hunting coach, Joe Gillia. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Gilbert, man. Hey, bro, September is gone.
Glad to be back and missing the elk woods already, brother.
Yeah, it was totally incredible. I mean, it was real interesting. September was interesting. I mean, it brought some difficulties. I mean, and I'm not talking about the difficulties that we had personally,
Sure.
But, there was just a general theme here in New Mexico through different parts, Colorado, where I was at guiding, that, we had extreme heat, man, heat wave that hit a lot of things. And so it made it tough. I mean, it made it tough for a lot of guys. And, it was really cool. Let me tell you what was cool, Gilbert, is, when you're out here and you're getting a text from somebody on the top of a mountain in Colorado, New Mexico, Idaho, and they're like, hey, Joe,
I know, man. It's been epic. It really has been. And then to top it all off, you get to spend some time with some of the elk gods of the world. I mean, just unbelievable stuff that you've been able to accomplish, Joe. We have you and Chav and y'all's vision for all of this to thank, man. It's been so awesome.
Yeah, and Chav, this one's for you tonight, bro. You're not here. He's a little down, and we'll talk about that another time. But I just want Chav, when he's listening to this,
just know we love you, man, and we praying for you, brother.
You betcha. So we're going to keep going with that, and I'm going to make sure that we're killing it when we do this. All right.
Amen.
So yeah, September's there, and it's funny because Gilbert, I keep seeing people like on Instagram and stuff. They're putting little crying faces and go, September's gone. You know what? I mean, y'all ought to be putting some smiling faces because October's here, bud.
Some of the best times I've spent in the elk woods have been in October. These bugles are going mad, just sounding off all day and all night, Joe.
And you said the exact thing earlier when you were talking about like the colors. I mean, the mountains this time of year are just, it's going through that transition, just like the elk are. Yes. And it is just beautiful, man. And gosh, where was it? Montana just got 40 inches of snow last week.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I got some buddies of mine that are mule deer hunting up there, and they're like, we're snowed in. I'm like, what? It's crazy, man, for sure.
And, let's see, we had a chance just recently. We did I was privileged to do a podcast with Michael Waddell and with Eric Dunn and those guys. Yeah. And, I was guiding at the time, and, a lot of people look at that and they look at stories and they go, well, these guys are on private ranches, and I am a blue collar guy. That's what I do. But like I tell everybody out there, I have worked with people at all income levels. You see me, I'm a bologna and bologna and cheese guy
And
with,
sandwich and cheese.
yep. And
Salmon.
I hunt in tennis shoes, but I tell you what, I am not one of them dudes that look at other people and their opportunities and judge anything. And I can tell you one thing that I have learned as a guide, as a hunter, meeting all these different people, is that bottom line is just people that love to hunt. And, you know, we can sit back and throw pot shots, do whatever we want. But, you know, I got to watch, yeah, and you guys heard on the podcast, I don't know Michael Waddell. I didn't until I got to spend, you know, a weekend camp with him and experience, you know, helping him to find his bull and what he was going through and his relationship with the guys that were in camp. And, you know, seeing all these guys together, I'm going to tell you guys, I don't know what you think. And you asked me, you said Waddy and all this. I don't know what you guys and what everybody knows and what they think this man is, but he's the real deal. He's somebody that loves to hunt. Just like Tom McMillan, who was there, just like Eric Dunn that was there, just like Tom Powell that was there, just like Joe Gillian. Now, I wasn't there as a hunter. I was there as a guide. But, you know me, Gilbert, I'm real quick. I kind of watch people from the background, and I can put my little hunting, you know, measuring stick on people and figure out, you know, who are people that, you know, you want to go with. And
when you text me you were in camp with Michael Watt, I'm like, the bone collector, Michael Watt at Waddy. You're like, yeah, and then sent me a text with his picture, and then, you know, obviously sent me a hat from those guys. Look, I've said this 1,000 times. I watched those guys since I've been a young man, and you guys know I've turned 50. I kind of watched Waddy coming up as a cameraman and working for Bill Jordan. And I mean, look, that cat is them booger bottom boys from Georgia are the real deal. I'm so proud that you got to hunt with those guys.
You know what? I'm a backwoods Carolina boy, and they're just like that, man. They're guys that I think that dude would be jumping around hunting squirrels just like I would, you know?
For sure.
So
Cat was a national champion, you know, turkey collar foundation. I mean, unbelievable turkey collar, and anything that he can call, he's down for, man.
Oh yeah.
I think if he could call toad frogs, he'd be in.
You know, I think I saw him so much more pumped and happy. And, you know, after he hit that bull, the hardest thing is there were still some of us guys that were hunting. So we worked to find that bull during the day. And then I had to take Eric out, and the guys had to take Tom McMillan out. And, you know, Michael wanted so much to go with McMillan just so he could experience his hunt. It wasn't about him, but he knew that he had something that he really needed to take care of. And I tell you what, that was a 12-hour ordeal that most people wouldn't understand. A lot of people would have given up in the first hour and a half. And I would just really, to me, the whole measure of those guys' salt was their concern, their passion, and how much they put into ensuring that they had done their due diligence with that animal. And that meant a lot to me, you know.
I agree, man. It's just so cool. The people we met, you know, the whole month of September, everybody that we've come in contact with, whether we called them in or whether we walked in on one of their calls. And then the outpour of people and phone calls and letters that we've gotten
from people.
I can't believe we passed over 40,000 downloads, Joe. I mean, just from where we started in March or whenever we started this thing, man. We're blessed, you know, blessed guys, man. That these people like what we do. So,
and you know,
we're going to keep doing it too.
How cool is it, Gilbert, these success stories that we're getting in? And to me, and to us as coaches, that means more to me than me getting an animal, you know. And, you know, when Dylan's, sent stuff in there, Peter sent stuff in there. And I've even got a whole bunch of letters of people coming in that are saying, and here's when you know you're doing it right. They're like, God, Joe, you know, we learned so much. We were so close. And the experiences were so cool, you know, and they're hungry now. I mean,
can't wait to get back. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
they're already going 360 and counting, 350 and
For sure. Yeah,
Just
no, we marking them off every day here, partner. I promise you.
Yep.
No,
So
can't wait to get
guys,
the bow back in my hand.
listen, y'all, if you're a listener and a subscriber, thank you so much for following us. Like Gilbert said, we're over our 40,000th download, for our podcast. And, we started this puppy back February 20th.
Yeah.
And you guys have heard us, man. I mean, we were excited with 30 downloads.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Jumping up and down, in 2 cities.
And
Spring and Springer, or wherever it was.
And, we just want to thank you guys for all your support. But if you are a listener or if you watch our videos on the ElkBros YouTube channel and you are not a subscriber, please, guys, do us a huge favor. Look right now. If you're on our YouTube channel, go down there. You got that little red subscribe button right there. Click on that puppy, man, because I looked, Gilbert, we have, out of all these people that are watching, about 35% are subscribers, about 60% aren't. So if we could get that 60% subscribing, that would be awesome for us. And
for sure.
If I can only get 30% of that, man, just to let us know that, hey guys, this is something I get value out of, and we want to do that. So, and if you're listening to our podcast right now, go ahead, subscribe, man. And look, we are getting some tremendous reviews. You guys, I can't thank you enough. But I would ask one thing. I would love to give you shout outs, and you guys are using all these nicknames on there, and I don't know what your name is or where you're from. And we'd like to give you a shout out. And if you don't know and you can't read how passionate we are about this, Gilbert, my brother over here, man, there's not a man with more passion. And I've had guys that have sent questions in from our mailbox, Gilbert, that, especially when we were out hunting, I knew by the time their question came out, there's no way we could have, gotten to it. So I was like, I give them a call,
Right.
And I've had conversations with several guys, and that's just been so cool. I've met people all over the United States, man.
Yeah.
I mean, from one side to the other. And guys, I hope you understand, how much we appreciate that. And we try to demonstrate that, I get these guys, Gilbert, when I call them, they're like, I can't believe you guys are giving me a phone call. I'm like, dude, we just love hunting, man.
Yeah, man. Let's hear what you got, the emails that I get to, you kick to me and everything, and I get to send them back an email, guys sending their pictures with, their successes, or even some sorrow stories, that, hey, man, but we're going to endeavor to persevere. So
there you go,
man, I'm telling you, it's been awesome for me, just to know that we had a little bit took a little bit of part of what their journey was,
When somebody sends me a letter, Gilbert, and he says that, and starts quoting stuff from our podcast that they were thinking when they were on a hunt. And, one of the guys that wrote us a letter is there, and he said, that elk was coming in, and all I kept hearing in my ear was Gilbert's voice going, you got to draw.
There you go, man. I'm glad I was riding with you, partner. Look, I've had Joe riding with me for a long time in Chav, so I'm hoping we can give some of that back, and it sounds like it's working. I had a real close friend of mine that's elk hunted with us before. His name is Trey Kistler. He listened to the podcast, and he called me on the phone. He said, brother, it's guys like you that I'd ride the river with. You mentioned me in your podcast and talked about my company, and you've always supported me since 1998. Because I can't do things that I do without brothers like you. So look, man, it means the world to me to have friends and family like that, and that actually do take time out of their day to listen to us. And guys, listen, we all, most of us have some windshield time, man. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We're going to keep putting out the content and having fun doing it.
I had a guy that sent me an Instagram story the other day, and it's a video of him. He's out in his yard, and he's shooting. He's target practicing. He says flinging some arrows while I listen to ElkBros and the Bone Collector. I'm like, man, how cool is that? That's just
be mentioned in the same, in the same realm of the Bone Collection.
Not even close, but it's so humbling, cool. Man. It is so humbling, and like you said, it's just cool. And guys, we hope that you enjoyed our live from elk camp series. The 3 podcasts, because I'm telling you, Gilbert, that was as real as it gets right there.
Buddy, when the thunder and the lightning and the rain came on the last one, I was like, you can't make that up in a Hollywood studio, right?
No,
I mean, that was real deal stuff, man.
Yeah.
It was coming down on our tarp, and I thought that was just the best music and best closeout. I mean, no doubt we'd love to have Brendan there with us, but he had things he had to take care of. But man, it was just epic the way that we got to shoot those last days. And then you guys stay tuned and look at this epic footage we're going to have of these hunts. It's going to be extraordinary for our
and we hope you enjoy that. Like I said, we're not pros at this, and we're going to try to give you something that give you a feel and maybe help hold you over till next season and let you see what it's like for us, and we'll see how well that goes.
Every day, it's so cool. I didn't, every one of them I got a memory of and burned in my mind, right?
Right.
Been able to be on, but this one, man, it's going to live in infamy. It's it's what it is.
Our first time doing this, and I know we're going to get better at it and stuff as we go, and so you guys stay tuned for all that, and thank you so much for all the emails and congrats people sent, and because understand something. Look, Gilbert, you know me, I'm not much of a negative person, man. No. I mean, when there's something that comes out and comes up, we find a workaround. We find a way to turn that lemon into lemonade. You can just all of that. And it's funny because you see some things out there now that we're putting this stuff out in social media and everything like that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that look at things like at what we did, and I've gotten things like they're hunting on a private land or game ranch. So
negative, negative Ghost Rider. If you only knew.
Yeah, that the area that we hunted in this year was, I mean, it's not a high success area. It'll beat the heck out of you.
I'm proof of it. I'm beat up pretty good.
It destroys equipment. It's as friggin' real as it gets. And and then I had somebody that said there was something that said, well, this is not representative of a Western hunt, that those results aren't normal. And
I got news for them, brother. We ain't normal. We're extraordinary. There's no doubt. I mean, the stuff that we've pulled off, we're normal people doing extraordinary things, but that's what we do, Joe. That's what we coach. And
so
we want guys to overachieve.
Look, I had somebody say something about, something like that can't happen every year, so you should be giving people realistic expectations. Let me tell you something, y'all. This boy comes from Podunk, North Carolina. I live in little old Cimarron, New Mexico. I've coached kids here for 30-some years. I have never once put a limitation on what those kids could accomplish. I've never on myself put those limitations. And you want to talk about realistic expectations. You bear with me because I'm about to jump on this soapbox, man. Preach on it, brother. You want to talk about is it not realistic for somebody to go in the elk woods and to kill an elk? Is that not a realistic expectation? Because if it's not, I don't know why you guys are doing it. I don't know why people would be practicing. I don't know why they would put themselves out there. It is as realistic as it gets. Now, if people are telling me to tell other people to lower the bar, I'm not built that way, man.
No,
because
we're here to raise the bar.
No, yeah, and that's what they're saying is to tell people, look, be happy with being mediocre. Be happy, get satisfied with, and I'm not built that way. I've always said,
well, the game
to compete.
The game don't know.
No,
they don't know how hard it is. The game does. The elk don't know how hard it is, and nobody else knows how hard it is. You just put the work in, and then you expect the result because you've done that.
And it is totally realistic. And
100%.
I do not walk in the elk woods without feeling each and every time that it's going to happen now, is going to happen today, because it's realistic. Because guess what? It happens. That's real. We've done that. Okay.
Oh yeah. Look, there's not a day that I don't step in the elk woods with you or even by myself when I've hunted that I didn't feel like if I found an elk, he's in a lot of trouble, right?
Sure.
I mean, and I can call to him, he's in a lot of trouble. Or if I can cut the wind and get around him, he's in a lot. It's because of the training that I've had with you guys, right? So when I set those expectations on myself, you would expect that out of me, especially as my caller or my guide, right? You'd expect that out of me and have come accustomed to expect that out.
Totally.
So
Totally.
I don't want to let you down either. So when I'm held to that kind of standard and I hold you to that kind of standard, we're all held accountable, right? And there's nothing wrong with us portraying that success to be real. It is 100% real and expected.
Definitely.
Where we're at. Now,
And
listen, we might show up and the animals not be there, right?
Sure,
So, man, that'd be tough. But I guarantee you, we know enough about the area we're hunting to make adjustments. And we did.
Sure. And that's the thing is look, guys, nothing, it is hunting. Nothing is guaranteed. There's all these variables. But, that is realistic, that there's variables, that there's
100%.
weather, that animal, all of these things that can happen. But you can teach yourself to overcome that. You can keep grinding and getting by that. You can change methods. You can change all go to different plans, different strategies, different areas,
Joe, look, I'm telling you, the way we hunted this year was so far different from what I thought we were going to have to do.
Sure.
I'm serious. When I saw the level of those acorns and where it was going to be at, I knew where we needed to go, right? Wrong.
Yeah.
Curveball, right? Change up.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for that.
Sure.
Where we didn't think we were going to hammer it, it was all over with. The weather was horrible. It was hot, but the bulls didn't care. They were smoking up there.
If you found the bulls with a hot cow, and that was key. There's all kinds of variables, guys. Sure, but
we went through that quick, though, man. It was just matters of hours so we could figure that out.
And that's experience. And that's why we're doing this. That's why you guys are listening, because you're trying to straighten out that curve a little bit. And I'm just telling you this. Is it a real expectation for you to be able to come out west and come out here and kill an elk? As real as it gets right there.
They live there.
Yeah. So it's as real as it gets, man. Yeah. So I just wanted to get that off my chest a little bit and tell you that,
I got your back, Joe.
We've been fortunate enough to just about every year, we should be just about 100% out there. And are we lucky? Well, I tell you what, luck is nothing but skill and opportunity meeting. And if you develop your skills, and then you create your opportunities, then you have a realistic occurrence, and that's going to be you taking an elk. So
agreed, man.
Yeah. So all right. I'm stepping down off my box. Okay. So now Gilbert, it's all about October.
Joe, first, it's got to be all about our grinders out there. You know what time it is, brother.
Yeah,
right?
I forget, man.
It's our ElkBros shout-outs time, brother.
Yeah.
If you guys are new to our show, this is just shout-out to a few cities with the most listeners topping our charts this week.
Yep, there you go. And you know what? So I look at the stats all the time on this. It's just one of those things. Right?
He texted me all the time. We hit this number. Like, oh my gosh.
And what I want to tell you is there's some of y'all that in your cities and towns that do not come up on the stats. For example, little old Cimarron, I know I listen to our podcast every now and then.
Yeah, me too.
It don't never show up. So what happens is in some places, the way that it works with the internet, you actually get thrown into a big city in your area, or you come up as unknown. Yeah. And I don't want you to be friggin' unknown. So I'm having a big shout out to all you rurals out there, all those guys that are in small town USA, those guys that, like myself, everybody considers a little podunk, but I just want to tell you, send a letter from what town you're in. I will give you a doggone shout out. If you have a little town, send us something interesting about it, a little information that we can do that, and we will give you that shout on here. So that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm putting that out first. And now we'll go to our charts that we actually have something on. And Gilbert, topping the chart this week. It's no wonder outdoor enthusiasts love to live here. This town has 1,400 acres of green space and not 5, not 6, but 200 miles of trails. Hey. So, but what you might or might not know is that the only man in U.S. history convicted of cannibalism. Alfred Packer is buried here.
Man.
He is
Lord.
celebrated in song, musicals, and a string of sites along Colorado's Cannibal Trail.
Wow.
And this is in
what a thing to be known for.
Littleton, Colorado.
Yeah. Oh man, that's kind of eerie being in October here, Joe.
Oh, this happened back in the day. You know, this guy. It was back in the day. 1700s, and
Sure.
the guy was a pioneer going across, pushing through the mountains with some guys, and I think things got a little tough, and I think his partners looked a little better than starving. So,
oh Lord have mercy. I hope I never. Right, Lord, help me, Jesus. I'm not gonna have to do none of that. All right. Next up, Joe.
Hey, don't be looking at me either, bro.
Look mighty good in them jeans. Oh Lord. Nicknamed the Cherry City, Joe. It's the third largest city in Oregon, and it lies on the 45th parallel, which means it's located exactly halfway between the North Pole and the equator. And that town is Salem, Oregon.
Salem, another Oregon town, man,
Yeah,
and the top
man.
listeners. Guys, love having you guys listen, man. And I got news for you. I told you, Gilbert, me and my wife drove through Oregon. There's a state that's a lot like New Mexico to me, other than all that beautiful jungle on the coast. You start coming more towards mid. It's just a beautiful state. And y'all, if you have not been to Crater Lake in Oregon, there in the southern, you have missed something, because that is one of the, to me, that's one of the world's greatest sights to see. It's incredible. So
yeah, beautiful place.
So next up on the list, this city's name means table. Snowbirds flock here. Buck Owens grew up here. The Cubs trained here. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in Wayne's World were filmed here. And during the summer, y'all, with an average temperature of 106, your air conditioner might just become your best friend.
No doubt.
Mesa, Arizona.
Mesa, Arizona in the house. Yeah, that's hot, Joe. I remember a buddy of mine lived in Phoenix, and he bet me $100 you could fry an egg on the sidewalk. I didn't believe him. I lost my money. Man, I have never, and he cracked that egg open. I mean, it was like putting it in a frying pan, man. I'm like,
man.
Wow, it gets hot there and dry.
People don't come out during the day. They come out at night there, man.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Listen, I bow hunted this past weekend in 103-degree heat.
I don't know how you
I'm
did
telling
that,
you, it was just miserable.
That
We had some guys.
It
really did. We had some guys come in for a management hunt, and I told them, y'all come back in November. It was brutal, Next up, Joe, what started in 1903 with a population of about 200 people, this neighbor and suburb of Boise has grown to almost 100,000 people. So this once tiny town farm has exploded in the fastest growing community in the state. At one time, before the community had a high school seniors had to ride the Interurban, an electrical commuter, like a railway, to finish their last year of school in Boise. And this is in Meridian, Idaho.
Meridian, Idaho.
Right.
I love getting, I've had a lot of people calling me from Idaho, and, they have some little extra things they have to deal with those wolves up there. And so they end up with a lot of interesting things that happen with those elk. And y'all out there, you guys have really helped make the West a lot smaller place for a lot of us. So pretty cool.
Yeah, no, Joe, I saw some headlines from a ranch called Broadmouth Canyon in Idaho. Oh my gosh, the bulls they have on that
Oh, really,
ranch.
man?
500-inch bulls, Joe.
Oh,
I'm like, oh my God. Oh,
what?
Joe, it's the craziest
Somebody
thing
test
seen.
Those boys. I want a blood test.
Man, I don't know what kind of jello they're feeding them rascals down there, but I'm telling you, I want some of it, man. Lord have mercy. Yeah, it's some crazy bulls.
So I got to ask, is that a high fence that they're doing that?
Joe, I'm not 100% sure. I just saw them up on some social media, and I would probably think so.
Right.
I'm not 100%, so don't quote me on that.
Yeah. All right. So last but not least, located 7,200 feet above sea level, it has the highest capital in the U.S., the oldest government state capital in the nation, the oldest church in the U.S. and the oldest house in the U.S. But people just say this place is old. You know? And if you come here to the end of the El Camino Real, the Royal Highway, you are most likely at some point to be asked this question, y'all. Red or green?
Yep.
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
That's
right?
cool, man. I love Santa Fe. The architecture there and everything's really cool, man.
So why? Do you know why you're going to be asked red or green, Gilbert?
I would imagine for the chilies.
There you go, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. In New
Knowing
Mexico,
what I know about New Mexico, the reds or green chilies, you know, are big deal over there.
so what it is actually the green chili and the red chili are the same chili. So
Right.
a green chili is when the pepper is still basically the piece of fruit pepper, you know, and then if you let it dry, it turns red, and then they take that and they grind that up, and that you get your red chili. And people say that the green chili is a little hotter than red chili, you know.
I like it all. I don't discriminate. I
Or-
like them all.
So I'm going to help y'all out. If you ever come to New Mexico and people ask you red or green, they're going to think you're a local if you tell them this: Christmas.
Both, baby.
Both, baby. There you go. All right.
When we ate in the at the what was that, the hotel there, the
St. James Hotel in
St.
Cimarron.
James Hotel there.
Yeah.
They had red and green chilies on that hamburger we had. Oh man, that was solid. That hamburger, man.
Yeah, I mean New Mexicans are nuts about their chili, and it's always red or green. You know?
Unbelievable. Really good. So Joe, like you said, brother, it's early October.
There we go. So that's what's up next, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Rifle
man.
hunts.
Rifle hunts. You know, the topics that are out there. Can you still call elk? I'm gonna let you lead right into that, Joe.
So, guys, understand something, man. Right now, today, so when this podcast comes out, we are right there, just around the 9th of October, right around that time. And so what you're looking at here is, generally in this time, the big bulls are starting to split off. But y'all, man, there is, again, remember, the rut and how bulls react are all about cows coming in estrus.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in that first estrus, if they're not bred, they come in a second time. If they're not bred, they come in a third time. So even though those bigger bulls are splitting off, those satellite bulls are jumping in, and there's still screaming going on. There's still bulls pushing cows around. There's still bulls scent checking cows. And like you said, Gilbert, this time between, you know, the 2nd of October till right around the 10th of October and even beyond, those elk are bugling, man. And
it's crazy. I was fortunate enough to do some muzzleloader hunts with the late Carl Gamage, many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, when we'd come in that first week in October, it was, I mean, I've never seen that many bulls bugling in one place. And, you know, even satellite bulls, and being able to call them was not a problem. Every day we called in bulls.
Sure.
Right? So, and you can get closer to them than you think. I mean, you know, with a muzzleloader, we needed to be within a couple 100 yards, 250 yards, but it was nothing to call them in within 80 to 100 yards.
Sure, definitely. So, guys, yes, you can still call them, but it's totally now you're not necessarily worried about calling these into 30 yards anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, all you're really needing to do is get those bulls to sound off and locate them so that you can get a high vantage point, that you can get a good look, cut that distance, and make that shot. So, yes, they're definitely going. And that feeds right into our next question here is, what are the best ways to get on a bull now? Well, best way is a relative term. But for me, the best way and the most fun for me is to chase bugles, man. I love hearing. And again, now you got to ask yourself, am I after a giant herd bull, or am I, you know, after one of the a smaller satellite bull, or sometimes not that small of a satellite bull, because, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, look, you know, some of my buds, Steve Tucker comes to mind. He's shot at some giant satellite bulls, right?
Sure.
And look, man, it was simple. I mean, I just started cow calling in some areas that were known to have some bulls around it. And I mean, real light, slow, you know, light cow calls, and they just they sound off immediately and come roaring in there.
Oh, definitely.
Within 100 yards. And I mean, it was pretty epic. And it taught me that, look, you didn't need to make a big ruckus, just a few little simple cow calls, and it was on,
Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to tell you a story so that you guys can understand, kind of percept this a little bit. But before I do that, you said 100 yards, Gilbert. So one of those tips out there, y'all, is when you're out there hunting during that rifle season and you're chasing those bugles or you're putting some calls out there, make sure that you dial down that scope, man, because
it's great stuff.
Yeah, because I've had guys, man, that have that scope dialed up, animal comes in 100 yards and they can't find them, so I would rather find that animal and dial into it than to totally lose it. So that's just a tip right there off the top of my head.
Yeah, we leave ours on 4, Joe, 4 power, and then that way you got a big broad view of everything, and then you can dial him right up.
Exactly.
But it helps also when you're in closer quarters; they can pick him up pretty easy.
Right.
For sure.
So here's a story, though. When we talk about bulls and the size of them, we got to see this and experience this on our last hunt. That there was an old, mature 5x5. Basically, what that meant was he was on the downgrade as far as his horns went. But I tell you what, as far as attitude and kicking other bulls' butts, he was at the top of his game. This dude, this guy came into a water hole, and other big herd bulls, these other bulls are bringing their cows over there, coming in to take his cows. He would go up into the woods, kick one of those bulls' butts. Wow. I mean, just knock the crap out of them, take their cows away, bring them down to his cows, right? Get them all gathered up. Another bull, go off, go up into the trees, kick that bull's butt, and bring bring those cows. He ended up with about 150 cows.
Wow.
Right? 150 cows. And then one of those bulls, so I want you to listen to this, y'all. One of those bulls came down out of the woods, came into the water, and was shot by a bow hunter. And that bull that got whipped by that mature 5x5 bull scored 392.
Woof. Wow, that's a giant, man.
Oh, my Lord.
That is a giant bull.
Yeah, but got his butt whipped by the guy, that had the experience.
Horn-wise,
Yeah, he was inferior horn-wise, but I tell you what, he knew what he was doing when it came to intimidating and fighting.
Yeah.
There you are.
Bad attitude and the butt to go with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So some of these guys that have been having to defend all those cows all this time that are splitting off to recover are not, the other bulls that are left that are going to jump in sometimes are really good bulls. So if you are just looking to get any bull at this time of year, guys, you guys heading out this week, go chase a bugle. Man, go chase a bugle, because if you are hearing not only just that one bugle, but you're hearing other screaming happen around that bugle, there are still hot cows happening, and that means that there's other bulls that are trying to scent check and trying to breed, and it lights up a canyon, man. It really does.
Right.
And it doesn't, that cow's going to be in heat for 14 hours. So, man, things can go berserk really, really quick. So, to me, the best way for you right now to get on a bull is listen for those bugles, get out there really early, listen to that bugle, get on it, get a high point, get a vantage point, stay on the downwind side, and you get into them. And it's such a fun hunt
no doubt
to chase those bugles like that, man. So, next question is, what if I am hunting cow elk? And guys, some of these questions have come in from some of our listeners. And this one, Michael Krausen sent in. He's from Arkansas. And, he heard all the stuff we were saying. And we saved some of these questions because we saved them for the right time of year. But, he's asking if we had any rifle season cow elk tips. Well, it was funny, Gilbert, because what have we been telling everybody? If they want to find the bulls in September, what do you got to find?
You got to find the cows.
Got to find the cows.
Exactly.
So this guy writes me a letter, Michael does, and I respond to him and I say, well, Michael, now, if you want to find the cows, you got to find the bulls. Oh, man. He's like,
We got blowing his mind. Yeah.
And he writes back. He said, "You know what? I thought you were going to say that. But it's so true. Okay, so right now, if the bulls have got the cows herded up, right? If they're pushing around, which they do,
Mhm.
then all you got to do again is listen for those bugles right now,
Yep.
right? And you're going to find the cows. So the bulls are telling you exactly where the ladies are right now. So
Yeah, and don't forget these guys are still slaves to their bellies, man. Those food sources and stuff like that, those cows and the bulls both are going to be around them. Especially after they've been running all night and stuff like that, some of them want a little bite to eat and lay down for a few minutes. They'll get out in those parks and, lay down, especially in the evenings and nighttime, and then you catch them getting up out of their bed early in the morning and going
Sure.
up,
Sure.
So for sure, I mean, it's real important to do your glass work.
And as things are cooling off, as Montana's getting 40 inches of snow, people start to wonder, well, what is that? Do I still worry about thermals? What does that do with thermals? And guys,
Sure.
when you're rifle hunting, you have something beneficial happening for you called distance.
Yeah,
That really
no doubt, man. Yeah, you can shoot him canyon to canyon.
Yeah, it really helps with that. But understand too that if you want to understand thermals, if you end up with a cold day or you're on snow, it's keeping that ground temperature low. And all you got to do is picture somebody putting dry ice in a bowl of water.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's happening. It's a
Stays
lot
low.
of that. Yeah, it's going to stay low. It's going to stay falling down unless you end up on the side of a hill. You get the sun coming out that warms that air up enough to get that going up. That's why a lot of these animals now are going to be, if there is snow, y'all, they're going to be on those southern or western slopes. They're going to be where that snow gets thinned out. They might go and bed on that northern side. They might just bed right there on those southern slopes, on the side there. So the thermals are still going to benefit them if you try to come to them from the top and it's cool weather or you got snow on the ground, because it's going to fall down. So you got to think about that. What you want to do is make sure that you're the same level or a little higher than the animal, and you want to be at the distance where you have a good vantage point and you're not letting your scent fall down to them.
That's right.
Yep. Keep them totally unknowing, on that. Zach Reiswig from Idaho. Zach has sent some things into us before, and he was really concerned because he was taking a look at his hunt, and he knows that he's going to be hunting when there is snow happening, and he heard about this storm that was coming in. So what he was interested in is what effect snowfall will have on the elk, will have on finding elk, because when you have a whole lot of snow early like that, does it push them down even lower? Where should they focus? Where should they look for the animals? And it's most definitely, yes, it is. If that snow gets deep, it is going to
come out of it. Yep.
They're going to go down to where they can get to grass, that they can get to feed. And Zach, your best bet, and guys, everybody out there, is what's so great about the snow is, again, you get to a high vantage point, and now you're using those binos. Those tracks show you where those animals are.
You bet.
And I mean, it's so funny because you can be where a snowstorm just got done and it looks like there's nothing in the country. And then you come out in the morning and it's just like,
yeah, like a herd of buffalo went through there.
Oh yeah. And it tells you really quick where they're feeding, and you can tell where they're feeding, and you can tell which sides they're going up on, and you just use those glasses, and they're going to stand out on those side of those hills. So yes, they are going to push down, man. And those canyon bottoms that have good grass are some of the best places to find them, when they're doing that feeding. And they're going to find grasses on the side of the hill. Again, those burns, especially in lower areas where they can still get to that, or on that south side, are fantastic areas. And you want to be, when the sun's coming up, you want to be able to always have the sun at your back when it's going down at your back, because it will make those animals glow when you're
Wow.
looking for them with those binos. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, it really does that. And the glint off their antlers, everything, man. I mean, they just stand out for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Yeah. And
For
I'm real
sure.
excited for the rifle hunters out there. This is a
Man, yeah.
super fun time of year. I mean, it's getting ready to get a little bit tougher right now to find a bull. Once you hit this end of October, that beginning of November and stuff, when those bulls bail
Full
off,
strut. Hmm.
it's going to be tougher to find a bull because a lot of them are going to bail. Now, some of those smaller bulls are still going to stay with some cows, and some of them guys are going to bugle every now and then through December, but it's not going to be something where they're responding back to you.
Right. No doubt. Joe, I wanted to give a quick shout out to a real good friend of mine, loves to elk hunt, Justin Howe, killed his first bull. This is his 5th year hunting, right? He's had some ups and downs like we've all been through, but Justin got it done in Colorado last week and ended up killing a nice 5x5 with his bow at like 35 yards. But he told me a story that I think everybody's going to get a kick out of. He actually watched his 5x5 and a giant bull fighting, okay?
Right.
And they heard these bulls fighting. That's how they knew that they were there. So they ran down there, and to their dismay, they get down there and there is a bull laying dead in the middle of this park, okay? Just laying dead. And they're like, how in the world did this bull die? And then so they started calling, and the 5x5 came in, and he ended up taking him. But this bull was a lot smaller than the bull that died. The bull that died is like a 360 bull, Joe. Okay.
Right.
It broke its neck in the fight.
So I have seen that. I've seen that several times, man.
Unbelievable.
I've seen that several times.
They had to call the game warden and him come out there, and they're like, look, if y'all want to tag him, y'all can tag him, otherwise you got to leave him alone.
You know what they call that, don't you, Gilbert? That's what you call a twofer.
No doubt, man. Unbelievable. But wanted to give a shout out to my brother Justin Howe.
Awesome.
We deer hunt in South Texas together, and man, so proud for him and his journey elk hunting, man. He's put the work in, and we're proud for him.
Congratulations, Justin, man. We're real happy for you, dude. So, Gilbert, let's go to our ElkBros mailbox, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, because there's some great questions here, and guys, who we have in the lineup? We got Dean Bershinger here. We've got Ben Thompson and Zach Fisher from Pennsylvania, and we just want to give you the lineup because if we don't get through everybody, we're going to put that to our next one. Because Dean's is actually it's a long question, and it's a great question because a lot of guys don't think about stuff like this. And I'm just going to let me just tell you what he says. He says he's going on a hunt in Colorado during the 4th rifle season with an either sex tag. He is super nervous about the weather, though. He's planning to set up a base camp and then spend 1 or 2 nights out in the backcountry before coming back down to resupply. He says he has a good 0-degree bag, but he's worried it's going to get so bad cold in the high country. And he's wondering if we have any tips on how to handle super cold weather during the hunts, because he's worried that being mid-November, the creeks are going to freeze, and he's worried about packing in water because of the possibility of it freezing. And, guys, water's a must. You got to have that. And he says he's to a gallon and a half guy in the winter. Mm-hmm. And so he's looking for tips on that. And I tell you what, when you're hunting and you're out there, you could be that 2-gallon guy. So, Dean, there's some things, and for all you guys, here's some things that we recommend to you. All right. Number one, first of all, we talked about having these on our hunt just to help pack out. If you are out there in bad weather and anything, make sure you have trekking poles. Okay. You need to stay safe around water, because if you get wet out there, it could be life-threatening. So, guys, ice on moving creeks and rivers is super thin. If there's ice that has snow on it, it's been insulated, makes it even thinner. So especially when you have to get near water to get water, to dip a Nalgene bottle or something, you don't want to go down and put yourself on that. What you want to do is use that trekking pole to break that, and then to dip that down inside that water. keep yourself so that you are not in a situation to make it life-threatening. So those trekking poles are going to come in handy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Joe, I saw some, I know some guys that have done a bunch of survival stuff like that. Also, if you just have to cross a body of water that's thin like that,
Right.
a lot of guys will cut them a pole. They'll cut them a little bough from a small sapling, and they cut it about 8 foot long, and they hold it above their head when they cross that. When they cross that body of water in case you break through.
Well,
You grab a hold of it, and you can get out of that hole.
Dude, you're up in the high country and you have that 8-foot pole. Look, y'all, if you have to put a pole over your head because you're worried about breaking through, you find yourself another route and hunt in a different direction. Because I've done that, and luckily I ended up going into in minus 18 degrees, ended up going in up to my chest, got out, rolled in snow, froze up my outside as fast as I could. Luckily, I was only 3/4 of a mile from a vehicle. And dude, my large muscles started to lock up in a matter of minutes. And I was very, very fortunate that, that could have been a real bad situation. And luckily I had my pack with my stuff in it that I got news for you. If I had to, I'd have lit half the forest on fire because I wasn't going to die. But, hypothermia can make you do crazy things.
For sure. I think another great thing is to have you a Jetboil in your pack.
Oh, definitely.
That thing can get water boiling really fast. It can, create fire for you really quick. I just think it's a perfect thing to have if you're going to do these backcountry deals,
So when we talk about water, a big issue for people that aren't carrying, that don't want to pack it in is water purification. And that's one of the reasons I bought up the trekking pole is if you got to get water out of a creek or something like that, that trekking pole is great for doing that. But part of the purification problem is that filters now that were good during the summer will freeze and crack. So guys have to use other methods. And some of the methods that you can use are like chemical methods, like the Aquamira there that you can use that. That's one thing that you can use out there. Another good winter alternative is Ultraviolet Light. They make those ultraviolet pens that do small amounts. But the thing that you have to remember with those is that in clear water up in the hills where you're in that backcountry, it's really great at neutralizing bacteria, protozoa, and viruses and stuff, but it's not going to remove any particles or organic matter. So that's why you want to make sure that it's clear, good stuff. You can't do like you do with those filters where you're pumping through nasty water and getting everything out there, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and always, if you got your Jetboil, you can boil water,
Sure.
And if you can boil water, it's going to be pure, You'll just skim off the top of the stuff that comes up off the top, and man, that water that's left in your Jetboil is, it's pure.
So let's talk about carrying water in those winter conditions like that, man. So you guys, your Camelback tubes aren't going to work for you because they're going to freeze up. So you really need to go with a wide mouth Nalgene when you're up there, and multiples on them. Here's some tips for that. Carry your water bottles upside down because water at the top freezes first, and it'll keep your lids from freezing up. You can use wool socks or bottle insulators to help with that. And the other thing is like Gilbert was saying with the Jetboil, if you can heat that water, put it in that Nalgene as hot as possible, and that's going to do a few things. You can keep it close to your body. It'll keep you warm. It's going to keep it from freezing, and keep it longer for you. Another big thing is before you head out, pre-hydrate as much as possible. If you start getting headaches or dizziness, kind of like what
hypothermia looks like
what Brandon was going through,
altitude's poisoning.
Well, yeah, or if you're dehydrated, you start getting those headache and dizziness. That's a warning sign that you're dehydrated there. So, warm water, put it in a bottle, and when you're sleeping in your sleeping bag, put it in the bag with you. Again, it warms you up. It helps to keep that water from freezing inside there. And I would suggest to Dean, that limit yourself to one night out. And the reason I say that, Dean, is that when you do a 2-night deal, sometimes you get in a little deeper than you should. When you know that you're only going to be in for one night and coming back to that base camp, you're not going to go in as deep. And, that's just a suggestion if you're not somebody that is real comfortable with being out there in those extreme cold weather conditions like that. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know whether Dean's using a tent or whether he's using a lean-to method or how he's sleeping on the ground with a ground pad or.
Well, I'm sure and from what I gather from, I'm sure he's using tent, ground pad,
Okay.
zero bag,
Yeah.
because, he does worry about the extreme temperatures. But,
Sure.
Another thing he can do is when he creates his campsite, avoid low-lying campsites, because remember, cold air collects in the valley bottoms.
Yep.
The southwest facing slopes get they get the sun last during the day.
That's right.
Yeah. And so that's something to think about there.
When
Also,
if he has him a campfire, he can use the coals from that campfire, dig him a little hole where he's going to be, where his bag is, and he can put those coals in there and cover them up with dirt, and that helps to warm that ground that you're going to be sleeping on. It can keep you comfortable. You got to be careful with all that because you don't want to burn a hole in anything. But look, we've done it several times, and it'll keep you warm. Those coals stay warm a long time.
And I'll tell you another big one is about your boots, man, because nothing will get you chilled more than anything. Put cold boots on, your feet be freezing. Yep. So make sure, you slip them in a stuff sack and store them in your sleeping bag with you to keep them warm for the morning. Okay. Yep. And I would always, if you're going to go in that backcountry, make sure in those kind of conditions, make sure you have some portable heat packs, that you can get warm with.
For sure. And man, make sure somebody knows where you're at, Dean. And if you got a sat phone, keep it with you. If you get in trouble, you can get some help,
The coolest thing, Gilbert, Chad Hashin, I receive an email from Chad Hashin that it wasn't from him. He had an inReach.
Oh, cool.
And when he got his animal, he pushed and said, send this to my email address. And I get this inReach text with a map that says, it's me, Chad. I got my bull right here, and I mean,
that's too cool, man.
And I mean, it shows exactly where you're at. And, for people that are going to be out there, Dean, if you're going to be out by yourself, I would not travel in those type of year without something like an inReach.
Yep.
And
awesome.
So that's an idea for you. Our next question comes from Ben Thompson from Utah. And guess what? You saw it. Ben, on his elk hunt, ended up getting his bull this year. In fact, him and his brother, both of them got an elk. And so I was super excited for him. But I had received this question and actually gave him a call to answer up his question because he was going to be up in the hills.
Right.
But his question, Gilbert, was how can you tell what aggression level the bull is at based on his bugle? He says, I've heard several professional callers talk about how there's more emotion in this call or that, but what does that mean exactly? So he's
Great
like,
question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, we had a lesson of that this year, Joe. You said, hey, what is that bull saying? Can you figure out what he's saying? I mean, is it straight location or is he angry? I mean, look,
Right.
The bull you called in for me, we really didn't think he was all that fired up until we started hearing him glunk a little bit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, all right. Well, we know what that's all about. Let's see what happens. Y'all get back in that flying V and see what we can do. Right. So,
right.
I mean, it was all about reading his vocal language.
And what I tell people is it's kind of like this, emotion in a call is just like with human beings. If I'm calling Gilbert here and I say, hey, Gilbert, how's it going, man? I'm pretty even keel. But as soon as I start going, Gilbert.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Gilbert.
More insistent, higher pitch.
You get
more tone. Got more rasp.
Yeah. And that's why I mean, when you think about somebody, if a guy comes up to you and say, well, Gilbert, I really don't appreciate you doing that. You know, there's not a whole lot of aggression in that. But come in, God dang it, man! I told you.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. I mean, you start hearing that anger in the voice, and it's the
That
same thing.
scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scream, that blood curdling. I mean, you can hear it in that voice where they really get down
They
on
add that rasp.
it.
They go to
Yes.
that high pitch sooner, right
Yeah.
away. I mean, they basically scream. You know,
Angry.
yeah,
Yeah, they're angry. You can hear it. It's that angst in their bugle, you know.
right.
It's and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And then listen, it's getting closer. So it's like, we got some stuff going on here, you know.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just gotta, I think, listening to enough bugles, you can hear the location bugle, you can hear the, you know, the roundup bugle, and then you can hear one that's a challenge bugle, right?
Well, yeah,
And
and a lot of them, like for example, and he asked, he said, "Can you go over the nitty gritty of the different types of bugles and what they mean?" You
yeah,
know, because he said maybe it's the volume or the raspiness or the length or the roughness. Well, not maybe, it totally is, Guy. You hit it on there.
no
You
doubt.
know, when a bull is when he's locating, it's a nice long, and it goes to a high pitched whistle and it's nothing that is saying that, you know, I want to
He's
fight with
aggravated,
you or
right?
anything like that. It's just, hey guys, I'm right here. You know,
Where
it's
y'all
kind of,
at?
yeah, it's like an
Yeah,
advertisement. You know, here's where I'm at.
yeah,
But and that's usually a long one. But when they start getting to those challenge bugles, you know, they're going to be shorter. They're going to go to that scream. You're not going to hear everything in there, and they're going to, you know, get that rough raspiness inside of that, and
and
it's
they'll
like,
cut you off.
yeah,
They'll
oh
cut you
man,
off on your bugle. They'll cut you slap off, and then you got to cut them slap off, and it makes it all aggravating then, right? And
right,
you know they're really not. They're pissed off, you know,
sure.
that you're there messing with their cows, and yeah, man, you can tell it's just getting more and more insistent and
And
raspier.
and it's the same thing with the cow call, but it's a
Yep.
little bit different. And it does, you know, when people talk about that so-called estrus call or the
Mhm.
insistent call, you
Mhm.
know, when that cow's going, like that, it's,
Mhm.
you know, again, it's just a conversational thing. When they start going, you know,
Yeah,
when they start getting insistent and
yeah.
they add that that rasp at the end, you know, that's when they're adding that emotion, that pleading, or that
Mhm.
listen to me now type thing,
Yeah. I'm
right?
going to post something on Instagram and some people can see it here pretty quick. But I watched a guy. It was horrible. The cow calling was, man, it sounded like a herd of cats, right? But this bull was fired up, brother. I'm talking like he was mad, Jack. And it didn't matter what it sounded like. If it chirped, I mean, he was, I mean, just freaking mad, dude. And when he comes in there, his mouth is wide open, lip curling, and I mean, it is one of the coolest bugles in your face. And he's got crap hanging off of his head because he done hit a tree. I mean, he's angry, you know. So it's and it just goes to show you, man, you ain't got to be perfect. You know, you just got to
Oh,
make a few sounds. And dude, when they're fired up, they coming. You know,
when they
they
get
coming.
like that, Gilbert, me and Chav were driving into an area trying to find a camp, going through this rough road and everything, kind of got lost in the middle of all this thing. We get out and shut the truck door, whoa, like that.
Yeah.
Not 50 yards off this bull. It's like, you know, oh my Lord, we done
Yeah, it's
discovered
like
a
a
new
turkey
elk call.
gobble.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
like a turkey gobble when you slam the door.
Oh,
No,
totally, man. Totally. Yeah. So Zach, we're going to actually hit yours next time. We're pretty much on our hour right here where we got to get out of here. Guys, um, please keep sending your questions into us. There's some that now it got a little crazy, Gilbert. I think I need a secretary, man, because I see where I missed a couple of emails. And guys, understand, I do go through this and I look and we get so many things coming in that if I missed you, I'm going to keep going back and catch it, and I'll try to respond to you. I try to respond to every email that I get. I want to make sure you guys know that that we care about your questions, and we want to have those conversations with you. So, keep sending those questions in.
For sure, guys. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You have to go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes to review and check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And again, if you want to send us a question that we put here on our show, send it to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com.
Yep. Oh, one other thing, Gilbert, before you get off, man, on our ElkBros.com site, there have been people that joined our camp there, and we send an email out every week with some information on that. Guys, if you have not been receiving that, it's most likely going to your spam. You need to check that and make sure that you clear for your email to receive from ElkBros.com, info@ElkBros.com. Okay?
You bet, Joe. Unbelievable. Glad to be back on with the Elk Bros and blue collar elk hunting. It was epic up in the mountains this September. We're looking forward to all our guys out there with rifles and smoke poles. Can't wait to hear all the successes and everything else.
You bet.
It's been awesome to see all the reviews and everything that we've gotten and all the questions. Zach, we'll get to you next week for sure. Man, what an epic show and epic content that we've been able to put out, Joe.
Oh, it's been a blast, man.
For Joe in New Mexico, I'm Gilbert Ornelas here in Spring, Texas. We want all of our husbands to kiss their wives and wives kiss their husband. Hug your babies, keep your broad head sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
God bless y'all.